better?
We're good. Let's do that.
Awesome.
You look mad.
Do I? I need to be happier.
You did first say
I have resting bitch face, so that's the
no,
problem.
you don't.
You don't think so?
No.
I think I do. I could just be mad because I'm looking at a title of a movie. And maybe that title made me mad. That is entirely possible.
Fair enough.
Right. I finished editing Butch, so I might post that tonight.
Okay, so you found it.
Yep, found it, all good.
I don't know why it auto-corrected to bitch, but when I reread that, I was like, that just makes me laugh. The bitch audio is in the folder.
You know, it made me laugh, and I actually thought it was intentionally bitch audio. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. And then I'm like, oh, I bet he means Butch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Either one. It was
Uh,
bitchy, so the audio itself was being a bitch.
Hey, what are you doing? What is all that you're...
That's probably dust.
Okay.
Dust. Huh?
Okay,
Okay.
you good?
I'm good.
Hi, Ron. Welcome once again to Adding the Academy. I'm Daryl.
I'm Laura.
Laura, what is the year and what are the films we're talking about?
We are looking at the Best Picture nominees for 1995 that were released in 1994, which include Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Quiz Show, and Shawshank Redemption.
So this was a far more interesting year than last year.
Very diverse films.
Yes.
Very much so, yeah.
And
all
for the
different
most
genres.
part, I did enjoy watching them. We'll
I
get into
agree.
the individuals. But first, the top 5 for 1994 by income, of course. In order, number 1 was The Lion King, Forrest Gump, True Lies, The Mask, and Speed.
I'm actually surprised that The Lion King was not up for Best Picture, honestly, given their propensity for
Yeah.
animated films.
When we talked about this with Beauty and the Beast, that was The Lion King was the one that I had in my head that I thought was nominated.
Oh,
but
okay.
was not. Other notables that year, The Madness of King George, Legends of the Fall, Natural Born Killers, Leon the Professional, Reality Bites, The Hudsucker Proxy, Nobody's Fool, which is a highly underrated Paul Newman film,
Fully agree.
Ace Ventura, Queen Margot, which it's a French film, I don't know if you've ever seen it,
I have
one of
not.
my favorite, almost made my top 20.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then one that did make your top 20, Barcelona.
Yay. Excellent.
Alright, I go alphabetical, so I have Forrest Gump first, but willing to go anywhere.
Let's hit Forrest Gump, but first can I say Nobody's Fool, based on the book written by Richard Russo.
Mhm.
And if you haven't read his stuff, please run out right now and read his stuff.
I read
One of my favorite authors.
3
Yeah.
or 4 of his, and he's phenomenal.
Yeah,
He really is.
exactly. Alrighty.
So Forrest Gump, directed by Robert Zemeckis. It's an adaptation of the 1986 novel by Winston Groom. The screenplay was written by Eric Roth, stars Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, Gary Sinise, and apologies, McKelty Williamson? I hope
Michael T, I think.
Michael T?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's right. You are absolutely 100% correct. And then Sally Field. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best for Tom, Best Actor Supporting for Gary, Best Director, Best Screenlight, Best Writing for the Screenplay, Film Editing, Visual Effects, Cinematography, Sound, Art Direction, Costume Design, Makeup, and Song. It won for Best Picture, Leading Actor for Tom, making 2 in a row, Director, Adapted Screenplay, Film Editing, and Best Visual Effects. So pretty much almost everything it was nominated for, it took home. Fun facts. I'm curious about this one.
Fun facts. So first of all, this is on the AFI list.
Okay.
It's number 76 on the current list, and it was number 71 originally, so dropped
Okay.
down a little bit. The one piece of main trivia is that the Marshall Point Lighthouse in Port Clyde was when they filmed at a kind of like oceanic spot where he stopped one of the sides of the runs. It was actually filmed in Maine.
Oh, okay.
So interesting. And also, so this is more about the book than the movie, but sort of the movie. Winston Groom wrote a sequel
Oh, okay.
called Gump and Company, and it was optioned for movie. They wrote a script, and it was delivered to, I think, Paramount Paramount on September 10th, 2001.
Uh,
And then from
killed.
there on, killed because they just thought the world was not a place for the sequel.
Do you know if Tom was attached to it?
He was not attached to it. He was going to read it and see if he wanted to be, but he pretty much has said he thought that Forrest Gump was complete.
Yeah.
He didn't have to make the movie, but he was going to look at it.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to dive in with this one.
Zoe?
Hey, what you doing, girl?
I don't know.
She just.
Okay, piece of paper of some kind.
I did not like this movie when it first came out.
Interesting.
I tried very hard to set that aside when doing the rewatch this time, and I had the exact same reaction. I do not like this film. I find, and I understand why people do. It is a feel-good film. It is.
Yes.
There are a lot of things that can make you just like feel good, and that's fine. I have no issues with that. My major issues with this is everything is just too convenient.
Oh, absolutely.
His places in history, like, this is the problem when we've talked about this. I don't buy the premise. I just don't.
Okay, fair.
And not buying the premise, that premise is consistently reinforced throughout.
But once you're taken out,
Yeah.
you can't come buy back in.
So that's I'm hitting hard and heavy in the beginning. I do have some things that I'll talk about that I like, but I do not like this film like everybody else does.
Okay, that's fair, and I would say not everybody likes this film, because right now it is very popular not to like this film.
Is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
There's been a whole arc of...
Did I start a trend?
You started a trend. People are like, oh, Daryl doesn't like it, why should we? It's very in fashion to hate on this movie right now, so
Okay.
you were ahead of your time. But I'm a person who, I liked it when I first saw it, I like it now. I have a very emotional attachment to it, and I see it warts and all. And I take in the premise, and I like it, and I let it wash over me. I don't know that I see it as the best picture of this year, so spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But I do think that it is a good film with an interesting arc and some good performances in it. So we're gonna get back and talk about that. I will say Robin Wright and her performance and Jenny's arc are fully underappreciated.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think that she is the heart of the film. His love for her is the heart of the film, and the fact that she didn't get more accolades makes me sad. But I think it set out what it intended to do. It understood the assignment, as I always say.
Yep.
This is a movie that was supposed to be kind of an emotional, feel-good movie, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do.
I agree, and that's not to detract from the movie. This movie accomplished everything that it set out to do from the beginning. They had a goal, they had a vision. All of that is very well executed. The performances, even though some are better than others, I think the performances are up to snuff so that you're not taken out when someone's on screen.
Yeah.
I do agree with you that Robin Wright, she went on to have a lovely career, and this was kind of the start of it. But her performance is quite often overlooked in this because the gambit that she has to run, she's mostly kind of like I'm pretending to be happy person.
Yes, exactly.
But she does run a bit of an emotional gambit, particularly when it's scenes between the two of them. That's when she's really showing some sort of emotion. The others are just like, she's just like an early emo kid. She
truly loves Forrest. She is not in love with him. And again, kind of, he is her heart. He is her touchstone. And is probably the thing that she keeps coming back to over and over again. And I really liked her story. Losing her was a loss to the audience.
Yes.
You lost the heart there as well. I like the conceit of the movie as far as a guy sitting on a bench telling his life story to people who kind of wander in and out. I like that it has a linear time frame and then you keep going back in time to hear a story. I like the way it was bookended.
I was going to ask you about that because I think you're right. Conceit is the perfect word to use for that because it is helping frame and tell the story as it goes throughout. The only part that I don't like about it is because it is a continual story, people do come in and out, and that doesn't seem realistic to me. Like, you would start again, you wouldn't just continue when someone else sits down in that next to you.
I would, Forrest Gump would not.
Oh, okay. No, that is true. You do have to factor that in.
You've got to factor the Forrest of it all.
Okay, no, that makes a heck of a lot more sense then. Alright, fine.
And it gives the voiceover purpose, because again, I don't love voiceover, but if you are literally telling your story, then voiceover, does make sense. It is, but getting back to your, it was too convenient. I think the convenience of it was the premise, and so if you don't like that. but it is too much and it is too long. And the running part especially was much too done, too gimmicky, the smiley face, the shit happens, like way too gimmicky. That could have been pulled back a mile.
I think a lot of those historic moments, I can imagine while writing it, they were like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if he was here and met this president and then met that president? But I think they're too much, and if you take out all of those convenient historical moments, I think this would be a better story. It would be tighter. You don't need him to be in all of these places in history. You just don't. It's just something the film throws in. It fully embraces it.
Yep.
But I think that, in my estimation, takes away from it. I think I would like this movie a lot more if there weren't all of these convenient moments in history. I think it would be a better story.
I agree.
One thing I do forget, because this is probably the third or fourth time I've seen it, I forget at points how dark it gets.
Oh, it's dark.
I forget about that. Like, in the very beginning, Mom sleeps with a guy to get Forrest what he needs.
Absolutely.
And then once Robin Wright
She really is worried about her son's education, as the principal says.
She is. Then there's very quickly the introduction of her father molesting her.
Yes.
And throughout there are these moments that are incredibly dark for such a feel-good film. And I forget that those exist. I don't know if they make the film better or worse, or it doesn't really matter. I haven't thought that much about it, but I do forget they exist.
I think Jenny and her father in that storyline has to be there and has to be as dark as it is to show who she is and why she goes through so much darkness in her life. So I think that one is necessary. I think Gary Sinise's character also going through so much darkness really shows who he is, and he does so much. And he goes from being just a regular soldier, just like keep yourselves alive, keep your feet dry, like that's all you got to do. And then he's angry, he's depressed, he's trying to pull himself up, he's doing all of these things, and I really liked the Gary Sinise piece, and his darkness, getting back to your point, I think was necessary.
I liked the fact, and it wouldn't have occurred to me, but it's just a good piece of writing, that his entire family in every war someone has died.
Yes.
So that
was funny.
his goal is like, I'm going to die in this war. That's what happens in my family.
Yes.
And so that becomes important when he doesn't. And that I did appreciate as just a good little piece of writing. I enjoyed
and Forrest
that.
Gump screwed up his plan.
Correct.
He kept him alive. That was not the plan.
Right.
Nope.
There are some things that I do like. And these are just kind of directorial choices. During the long, and you're correct, it is long, piece with the running, when he stops, the way that the camera is in front, you see everybody running behind, he stops, turns around, and then the camera is way back and comes very close on his face.
Yes.
And in any other film, this would be a hugely prophetic moment. Someone would be saying something super important, but because it's Forrest, he just goes, I'm done.
Yep.
And that's it. And then you see all the disciples basically going, now what do we do? So it is a prophetic moment, but only to them, not to him. And I like that. That was very well done.
I like that there were a few pieces that they didn't overdo. One of them was exactly that moment. And then the other one was when he talks about losing Bubba and the mic cuts out. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And so we don't know what he said, we don't know what his feelings were, and we don't need to.
Yes.
But we know that he did express them. And I like that would have been too emotionally manipulative, I think.
I think you are correct that the heart of this story is their relationship.
Yes.
And it is a very different relationship for both of them. Like, he just unequivocally absolutely loves her, has his entire life, and it is pure and it is innocent and it is pure. His is pure. Hers is more of, he's a comfort, he's the place she can go for a reset. So, and I do think that they played all of that out very well, because she does keep coming back to him. She does keep coming back to him. So I thought that was very well written, and that being the central kind of thread throughout the story did work. It's just all the other stuff.
Yeah. Except, and just even when she slept with him, she showed him love in the way she knew how.
Correct.
Which is sadly, very sadly, the way she was taught. And so, I liked it. I think it's a very sweet movie. I'm going to be very controversial, and I didn't like Tom Hanks's performance. I did not think that he deserved the Oscar.
This is why in Tropic Thunder they have that moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's true.
The last thing that I will say, the thing that I did like, is we talk a lot about whether movies earn their emotional moments or not.
Mm-hmm.
When he meets his son and he has that
Yeah.
question, and it's very emotional for him. The first time you ever really see him show any kind of emotion,
Yep.
the film did earn that moment. It really did. And so I'll give props to that.
I
Because
think
that could
so.
have been really super sappy. It could have been handled 1,000 different ways. That moment was handled correctly.
Yep, I agree, and I would also say the other moment that they earn is when Jenny dies.
Yeah.
I think they have set up who she is in his life and his love for her and who she is as a person, and she went through such sadness and darkness, and you grieve with Forrest.
Yep.
The audience grieves with Forrest. My last thought is the soundtrack.
Okay.
I think this has a really fun soundtrack as far as they picked really just popular songs of the moment, of each of the moments he was in, just as they picked popular moments in history of presidents to be with, or hey, I happened to see the Watergate burglars or whatever. I like this soundtrack as a perfect kind of amalgamation of from the 60s to the 80s of a good song in points of time.
Yeah, each of the
It's a fun
songs that were
soundtrack.
chosen are representational of their time.
Exactly.
So you can hear that and you instantly think 60s or 70s or 80s. So you're correct.
Yeah,
The choices of the music were impeccable. They
We're
really
fun. It's enjoyable for me.
Yeah,
Less so for you.
I just can't get over the premise. Like I said, if they took out all of those convenient historical things, like the Watergate thing, like meeting all of the presidents, I probably would enjoy this much
Right.
more.
Right? Get that.
All right. 4 weddings and a funeral.
Alrighty.
4 weddings and a funeral. First off, shocked that this was nominated.
Okay.
I really was surprised when I saw it. Like, I remember that film, but it's weird. But anyway,
Yeah.
it was directed by Mike Newell, written by Richard Curtis, stars Hugh Grant, Andy McDowell, co-stars Charles Love, with Kristen Scott Thomas, James Fleet. Kristen Scott Thomas, James Fleet, Simon Callow, who I love, John Hannah, Charlotte Coleman, David Bauer, and Corin Redgrave, and Rowan Atkinson. Nominated for Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay, did not win.
Alright, so from the AFI list, it is shockingly not on here. And fun facts are, so in the UK they do these Red Nose charity days, and so they've done different revisits to older movies. So a couple of years ago they did a Red Nose Day where they did like a 10-minute movie of all of the characters who are still alive came back. And you showed, Hugh Grant and Andy McDowell's daughter was marrying Fiona's daughter.
Oh.
And so it was yet another wedding, and all of the friends and family came back, and they had just a 10-minute, where are they now? Cute, funny. So it was really enjoyable. The character of Scarlett was not there, and so I looked up and she's passed away.
Really?
I loved her, and she was 33 years old and died of an asthma attack.
Wow.
I know. So very sad. I was a little bit sad about that because I really liked her and her character. So, and obviously Sun Cal could not come back because his character died.
Right.
Given the rom-com of it all, would you like me to get started on this one, or
Feel
would you
free.
like to
I
jump on in?
I have things to say.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But
No,
go
there's
for it.
things to say. So, on the whole, I did remember this being nominated, and I remember, so I wasn't surprised this time around. There is, and we're going to talk about it, in my mind, one gigantic flaw with this movie.
Okay.
Huge, gigantic flaw. Gotta put that aside for a minute.
Okay.
Because
Teaser.
there are things I really enjoy about this movie. There's things I love. I like the structure of the movie.
I will agree with that.
I like that you get to see these friends at social events. And so you only get to see them a little bit over the years at certain events. And so I love the structure of how we get to see these folks. And it had a wonderful cast of supporting characters. You did not see very much of them. You literally got moments of some of these people. But you got to know who Tom was from that little conversation, and Scarlett as well, and Fiona. And so I think that the Fiona professing her love to Hugh Grant was so surprising, and yet not surprising at all.
Yeah.
All at the same time. So I love that. I think there was a huge amount of humor. The dialogue was fantastic. It's relatable situations. I was probably, kind of at this age in the 90s when all of your friends are getting married all at the same time and the same group is going to all the same weddings. I loved the relationship between Matthew and the Simon Cowell character.
Yeah.
I forget his name. Like that was beautiful. So there was Gareth. Thank you. There was so much, and then we're gonna get to the best thing of it all, which is the Hugh fuckity Grant of it. So we're gonna get to that in a minute. But just like there was a lot to love about this movie, and I would put that in the middle. I would put Hugh Grant at the top of the I will tell you all the wonderful things that is why he is amazing even today, and this started it. And then at the bottom is Andie MacDowell and everything having to do with the relationship, the character of Carrie, the relationship, the who she was, the lack of chemistry, and everything having to do with main characters trying to get together. So that's kind of the structure that I think of it in.
Okay.
And I turn it over to you.
So there are many things about this that I like.
Yes.
I do like the structure of it. I do love how even the way background characters, you do get a sense of
Yep.
that there is progression. Like at the first wedding, two of the people basically have sex and fall in love, and then the next wedding is their wedding.
Yep.
So a lot of the background characters have their own stories being told, and they're told in quick little snippets. You get just enough to kind of help fulfill and round everything out.
Yeah.
I think the writing of this was very well done. My biggest problem with this movie is it's not the rom-com of it, it's Andie MacDowell.
Yes.
I have never liked her in anything. She is the worst part of Groundhog Day.
Yes.
I never thought she was a good actress at all. She
Mhm.
takes me out of everything she's in. So anybody else in that role, and I probably would come in and be like, I really like this film. It is well executed. The structure of it is great. Everything works, because everything does work, except for her.
Well, I would agree with the Andie MacDowell of it, but I don't think I would like it regardless of who was in there, because it's Andie MacDowell, but also the character is, why did he fall in love with her? You don't really get to see anything about her that is likable. She is unkind to her fiance. She is unkind to him. You do not bring the guy who is clearly in love with you out wedding dress shopping and then sleep with him, you know? And so I think it's her performance. The whole, is it raining? I hadn't noticed. It's a terrible line delivered badly. I don't know who could have delivered that well, but it's a bad line delivered badly. And then the character is not lovable in my mind.
No.
And they together have no chemistry.
And I think, I thought about this as I was watching it, like, what does her character really serve for this film? And it's basically just something for him to fall for, to keep chasing throughout the movie. It's just it's a conceit of it or whatever. So that part of it works because it helps move the plot forward. Okay, fine. But she is not likable and almost unnecessary. And the only thing I can think of is because she's not part of the friend group is the only reason that he's after her. But then I think, no, the scene where he's sitting down with like 3 of his exes,
Yes.
they are part of it, but not real. Like they're not part of the core group, but they are part of the wider circle. So I don't know. But
Agree on all counts. I absolutely agree on all counts. I think that it's the whole conversation he has with Tom about the thunderbolt. He is hit by a thunderbolt when he sees this woman.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And they could have made her somewhat more likable. They could have made her engaged at the start and then having kind of dancing around each other. But instead, she meets him, she sleeps with him, he doesn't call her, so she meets and gets engaged within 3 months.
Yeah, very quickly.
And then she sees him and gets back together with him, and it's just such an unnecessary roller coaster.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree.
Because the whole piece of it was, hey, if you'd called me, you know, maybe I'd be engaged to marrying you. But what about the fact that they do not get married? So like that's the whole thing. Like it's all about weddings and marriages, and they clearly have a family and are a core unit, but they never even the 20 years later, they're not married.
That to me is the rom-com of it all. That makes sense in this kind of film setting. So I didn't mind that because all of that just sets up the line where he basically asks her to marry him by asking her to not marry him.
Yes, exactly.
So that to me just screams rom-com.
Okay.
I was fine with all of that. One of the things that I didn't like, and I don't know how else they would have done it, is that last wedding, you know that it's not going to happen.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know who it is. I mean, you don't know who it is that he's marrying until you see it.
Yeah.
But you know it's not going to happen.
Right.
And it goes on for far too long before that reveal happens that it doesn't happen. I think that was kind of mishandled. It was far too long. You know it, just get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's true. I did like the way his brother interjected, though.
Yeah, I like the
and
brother
the brother
a
and
lot.
the girlfriend, she was sweet. I
Yeah.
really liked that. That was a beautiful relationship, too. We've been dancing around it. Hugh Grant. This movie isn't even interesting without Hugh Grant. It does not do all the wonderful things that we say without his performance and the way he delivers the lines and his just sweet, bumbling, stumbling rom-com persona that keeps him going for 25 years after this film.
Yep.
And this is the first time we see him, and everybody universally fell in love with him, including me.
He's a good-looking dude, and that obviously helps. He's not like...
He's not Brad Pitt, though. I mean,
No.
I think the personality is part of the charm.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. He's not like a George Clooney, Brad Pitt,
Yes.
gorgeous, but he is a good-looking person, and then that kind of secret smile thing that he has going
Yes.
on, that becomes his charm. So he's good-looking. He has the little charm thing going, so that makes up for everything. And I think that's why a lot of people did fall in love with him and continue to throughout. When he speaks, he has that almost stammer,
Yes,
which is also slightly endearing, I've been told.
very much so. I can tell you, it is. So yes, very much so. Love Hugh.
So yeah, I think this would be a much better film if she just wasn't cast, and I don't know why they kept casting her in things.
I think 10 years earlier, When Harry Met Sally should have been nominated, and that would have been the perfect rom-com to be nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand this one.
Me neither. Not a fan. All right.
Fun Hugh Grant romp, and all the side characters were delightful.
I'm moving on to Pulp Fiction.
Let's do it.
All right, Pulp Fiction, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, from a story that he had conceived with Roger Avary, his writing partner. Stars John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, Tim Roth, Ving Rhames, and Uma Thurman. Was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Travolta, Supporting for Jackson, excuse me, Supporting Actress for Thurman, Original Screenplay and Film Editing. Did not win anything. And I was surprised because typically when you have films that make this much of an impact, they'll at least get the writing, and this one did not.
I was surprised about that too. I thought it won for writing. I wonder who won that year. We'll have to look that up.
All right, go with some facts.
All right, so this is also on the AFI list. It is currently number 94. It was number 95.
Ooh, creeping up.
It is moved up one whole spot. It is hard to find fun facts that people don't know about on this movie because everybody has done this to death.
Yes.
So I went on a different track. So Amanda Plummer, who plays Honey Bunny,
Oh, okay, yeah.
she, I think most people know, is Christopher Plummer's daughter.
Okay.
Christopher Plummer from Sound of Music.
Yep.
Her full name is Amanda Michael Plummer. Her middle name is after Michael Learned, Mrs. Walton, because that is her godmother.
Oh,
So I went in a different direction. I mean,
Gotcha.
a couple of true movie pieces that most people know is Michael Madsen was supposed to be the John Travolta part, and carrying over from Vic Vega in Reservoir Dogs. And the other piece was Harvey Weinstein wanted Daniel Day-Lewis, actually.
wow.
So that would have been fascinating. And it is the first Miramax film to get over $100 million.
Okay. And this was this is the start of Miramax's
This is,
run.
yeah, this is the kind of like not immediate start, but this is the start of them being the
They've got a lot of
crazy.
good movies.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's Harvey. But I have a fun fact for you.
Oh, bring it.
So, very famously, John Travolta's career was not doing all that well. And from the get-go, Quentin had said that he wanted John Travolta he wanted him to be the man. And he sent him a script, or they tried to get him to communicate, and John was just not interested. So he then convinced him to go over to Quentin's then apartment, because he'd only done Reservoir Dogs at this point, he was
Okay.
not who he is. And he came over, and they sat down and started to talk, but before they started to talk about the movie, he pulled out the Welcome Back Kotter board game, and they sat down and played the board game for like an hour, and then started to talk about the film.
Okay, he knew what
That's
he was
out
doing.
of John Travolta's own mouth.
He knew what he was doing, Quentin did. Okay, fantastic. I like that.
So this one is one of the easier ones for me to put the mentality of when this came out because it was so impactful at the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So I can remember when it came out and the buzz about it, and deservedly so. This is one of those films that when it came out, it changed the landscape of
Yes.
film. This inspired so many mimicries, but it also inspired a lot of other people, like certain films did in the 70s, to take additional chances. And because this film was so successful, studios gave a lot of those people chances. Which
Exactly.
this is one, like I said, it just changed the landscape of film forever after.
Beginning of indie world. I
Yeah.
mean, at the theater. Yeah. Yeah.
I have seen this a bunch. I have probably seen it too much because now I'm desensitized. Like,
Yeah.
part of the brilliance of this film is the experience of it the first time to see something like this. And you can only have that experience once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And I've seen it so much that even though I can now see all of the brilliance that was in this, I've seen it so often that it doesn't resonate.
It washes over you a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah. Yeah. This is probably the third time that I've seen it. And I think it starts with such a bang. I mean,
Yeah.
it starts with, the conversation in the diner and right to that music.
Yeah.
Like when you said Pulp Fiction, I hear the music in my head. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, talking about things you've never seen before. Well, we just talked about Memento,
Mhm.
which is one of those movies that jumps around in time and within stories. And this is another one where it is so complicated a structure for it to work well.
Yep.
And it works beautifully. Where, the Jules, you see Jules and Vince, and they go to see Marcel wearing t-shirts when you had just seen them wearing suits. And then in the next scene, they're wearing suits. So you start to realize, wait a minute, this is not being told in a linear fashion. And
Correct,
that's
yeah.
kind of like your first, he cues you to those things, but you don't really realize it until you're kind of in the middle of it. Like everything he set up was delivered on.
Yep. And also, like, even though, I mean, the film itself, it starts here and it ends here, so the film is linear. The story that is being told is not
Mhm.
linear. But even the film in its linearness does have its own little arcs and completion.
Yeah.
Like, when it ends, and they're two are just standing there walking out, you know that John Travolta is gonna die very shortly.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you've already seen it.
Yep.
But it still feels like a good conclusion to a movie.
Yes.
That's hard to pull off,
Yeah.
and you gotta give him credit for it.
Yep.
The thing about this that really makes it stand out is 100% the writing of this film. The execution of it, of course, the performances, absolutely. But at its core, it is the writing of this film that makes it so strong.
It is absolutely the writing, but I would challenge the Samuel L. Jackson part in a lesser hand would not have had the power that it did.
Absolutely.
I cannot see anybody else in that part or
Nope.
delivering the lines in the way he delivered those lines, and it's incredible.
Yeah, and his scenes, there's a couple of them, but his scenes have become now classic,
Of course.
iconic scenes. The whole one with the burgers. Oh, I'm sorry, did I break your concentration? Say what again, motherfucker? Like,
Exactly.
that whole scene is,
Wow, cheese.
yeah,
Mhm.
is just amazing.
Yeah. Nope. I totally agree.
It is also, it's something that you can study if you wanted to, because all this really is a series of small vignettes that are strung together with a story that is interwoven throughout, but they are individual stories. Like, they do stand out on their own.
Oh, yeah.
Butch's story could be like a short story in and of itself,
Yep.
with another short story, and so it's just, it's something you could study to see how to craft. I cannot talk today. How to craft a movie without being, too bogged down in details of things.
Nope, I fully agree with that. The other piece too, kind of getting back to the dialogue is, it's just casual conversation.
Yes,
It is
yep.
so realistic. It's never boring,
Yep.
but it is just people sitting in a car talking about stupid things.
Yep.
People sitting in a diner talking about stupid things. Like it is such a realism to it, but it's a realism within a heightened universe. So like everything around them is big and crazy and guns and violence and all that stuff, and yet within it's just very small folks. Two people talking on their way to work.
Yes.
Their work is very different than my work,
Yes.
but it is just two coworkers having a chat.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of the writing, the only thing I think that was not as strong is that the two of the female characters, their dialogue is basically kind of the same.
Mhm.
So the Esmeralda, whatever her name was, the cab driver,
Yep.
and Butch's girlfriend, their language is very, very similar in the way that they talk. They both have accents, but that's not it. It's their language is very similar. So that's the only real weak part of. They're not as fully defined as a lot of the other characters are.
I agree with you, and I actually thought that that was on purpose, though, because I thought it was Butch connected with the cab driver because she reminded him of his girlfriend who he was comfortable
maybe.
with. So,
Maybe.
so it's probably not on purpose, and I just gave Quentin a credit that he didn't deserve on that one. But that's why I thought he immediately bonded with her and trusted her and knew she wasn't gonna squeal on him
Right.
because he trusted her the way he trusted his girlfriend. There were a couple of things that I didn't love as much.
Okay.
And so one of them is the pacing is a little bit off in a couple of places. I thought the John Travolta Uma Thurman scene eating dinner just went on a little bit
Yeah,
too
I agree.
long.
I do.
And the same thing with Bruce Willis and Ving Rhames. That piece to me was not, obviously it's not meant to be an enjoyable scene,
Right.
but it just was a little long for me. So just personally. And the other piece is, and I apologize, Quentin Tarantino, who's never gonna hear this, the scene that he is in with John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson and Harvey Keitel, he is outclassed as an actor by the people around him. He does not have the gravity for that scene.
No,
And you see he's an outlier.
anytime he's been in a film, he is usually the weakest point, and he
Yeah.
admits that. Like, I'm not an actor. But I do. Like a lot of directors will put themselves in like a scene here or there.
And it's his movie.
Yeah.
He can do it if he wants to.
He just takes up more time on screen than a lot of other directors when they put themselves in.
Yeah, and I just think that would have been a stronger scene with somebody else.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
The only other thing I will say about this is back then in the 90s, 94, this was. We were fully into the anti-smoking campaigns,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't put that together. Okay.
and this movie made smoking cool again.
It certainly did. Yeah, especially Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope, I agree with you. One more thing I want to say about it is I will watch John Travolta dance anytime they allow me to watch John Travolta dance, because even in this he is not attractive John Travolta. He's a little overweight, he's a little schlubby, his long greasy hair, and yet he's got the moves. He has got the moves. I think we've talked about this on Saturday Night Fever. Watching him walk down the street, that is just sex on a stick. Like that is just it doesn't matter. That movie starts and his walk, and it is just very sexy. And the same thing here too. It doesn't matter what he looks like. He's got the moves.
And when you watch him in particular do the dance moves that he does, they're kind of silly.
Oh yeah,
But
the Batman.
Yeah. But even like when he's doing just like he does like 7 or 8 different dance moves in this thing, and he just repeats them, but they're kind of silly dance moves.
Absolutely.
But he totally makes it work.
He can make it work. I agree.
All right. So yeah, we can't stress enough how groundbreaking this film was when it came out and how it changed the landscape, because it really, really did.
Totally agree. I think Quentin Tarantino, obviously, great filmmaker. You can see that it's an early movie for him.
Yeah.
But it did. It changed the landscape.
Yeah, I mean, he took a big swing with this film. It paid off.
Yeah.
But I think if he probably were to go and if Pulp Fiction was going to be his last film, it would be slightly different than this version.
I agree. Yep.
All right, shall we move on to Quiz Show?
We should.
Quiz Show, directed and produced by Robert Redford. God damn it. Basically, this was all about the 21 quiz show scandals of the 1950s. Screenplay was by Paul fuck it.
And starting it. Did we clap?
We didn't! Wow, okay.
Okay. Starting it.
This stars John Turturro, Rob Morrow, Rafe Fiennes, Paul Scofield, David Palmer, Hank Azaria, Martin Scorsese, Mia Sorvino, and Christopher McDonald. Was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, and Best Screenplay based on material previously produced. It did not win anything.
Okay, go with the facts. So I think everybody who has seen this movie recognized Martin Scorsese, obviously, in his part. I did not recognize until I read it that the actor playing Dave Garroway was Barry Levinson.
Oh!
The head of the Today Show with J. Fred Muggs.
Okay.
That was Barry Levinson. I did not realize that.
Huh.
And then the other piece I will tell you is about Dick Goodwin, who was played by Rob Morrow in the movie, obviously. If you have ever read a book by Doris Kearns Goodwin, that is his second wife that he married, and she is a huge, U.S. historian and has written a lot of really, really good books.
Okay.
And he, of course, was a political speechwriter and in the Kennedy administration back in the 60s. So
Okay.
very interesting dude. Two more pieces, one of which is Charles Van Doren was offered $100,000 to act as a consultant on the movie, and he turned it down. And the last fun fact is that, and you know this because I texted it to you, we've been doing this for about a year, and this is the first time I've fallen asleep. So
You just said, I fell asleep to one of the movies, I'll have you guess, and I was like, no, Nate, it's a quiz show, I know it's a quiz show.
And in fact it was. So that's gonna start our conversation.
So along those lines, this is really, we can go into the details of this film, that's fine. I am a little disappointed that it was a Robert Redford film.
Me too.
This is what I will say about this, and this could be the tagline on a movie poster. Overall, this movie is well crafted, but ultimately forgettable.
Completely forgettable. I think you're absolutely right. I do wonder, I had a very difficult time putting myself in the moment of either the 90s or the 50s, because we live in a time where our president is a felon and the media lies to us and the press secretary makes shit up that they tell to us on a daily basis. So the fact that a quiz show gave contestants the answers has no stakes for us. Like, it means nothing to me. I'm like, of course they did.
Sure.
So I wonder if that's a piece of it, is I could not get into the headspace of caring that this was a scandal.
At the time, it would have been, because television was so new and the concept of entertainment was not as established as it is now, and the questions of what is entertainment, can you cross the lines, those things were just being asked.
Oh, no, I understand why it was a huge scandal and why it would be an interesting story to tell. I'm saying, me personally, my problem with the movie is I couldn't get into the headspace I needed to get into to remember that stuff. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you. This is a Laura problem, not a quiz show problem.
Got it, okay. A couple positives about it.
Okay.
I thought, and I've always loved him, I thought John Turturro was amazing.
Agree.
His character, you do not like. He is like a smarmy little guy. You can understand his motivation. He just so desperately wants to be appreciated and valued, but he's not really a good guy overall. And he plays that character spot on. He brings out everything in that character. So kudos to John. But yeah, like everybody else is kind of fulfilling their roles. They're doing fine. Nobody else was a standout to me at all. They were just like, you could understand who they were. They defined their characters, but ultimately the performances did not rise above to anything.
No.
Except for John's.
Yeah, I thought the father who was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Paul Scofield, I thought he did well, but I think the father was a fairly forgettable character.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter that he did well. What made me upset was they brought up so many interesting themes. They like corruption, the whole beginning of being famous for nothing, class conflict, living up to your family's expectations, being manipulated by big business, anti-Semitism. And they didn't deliver on any of those themes. No. They like raised them all, like, ooh, look at what's happening, but didn't, like, nothing was resolved.
This to me,
or even addressed fully.
Yeah, this to me has a Chariots of Fire feel to it.
Oh yes, perfect. Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Where there are a lot of missed opportunities. There were big questions that were put out there, but nothing really developed. Chariots of Fire was exactly the same.
I think you're absolutely right. The fact too that it was Robert Redford and that we had seen what he could do with ordinary people and that this is a follow-up, it made me sad.
I did like the ending. At least it tried to make some sort of statement or put a question in the audience member's head with the ending, which is essentially this is entertainment. Does it matter?
Yes.
Does it matter that we gave people the rules? It's not like we broke any laws.
It's TV.
We did this for entertainment, which is, the question that has been asked every decade since. Where's the line, etc. So I did like that it ended with a big question like that for you to walk away with. But again, ultimately, it didn't really. I mean, the movie was about the scandal, and then you raised the question at the very, very end.
Yep. I have one more pro and one more con.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with the con, which is, Rob Morrow. I think no Boston actors should ever play a Boston accent again. They all sound like Mayor Quimby from The Simpsons. We need to just say, like, if you are not an Affleck or a Damon or somebody that was, Marky Mark, yeah. Wahlberg, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go for it. Be as Boston as you want, because you're from Boston. Everyone else, just stop, because it sounds stupid. And then my pro is I really like Ray Fiennes' highlights. So here's why, is whoever did his hair, he had that like Cupid doll, Ken doll, perfectly plastic but not overly plastic. He played that perfect aren't I pretty boy very well, and I kept staring at his highlights. I think that really helped him make the performance.
Oh my god, that is hysterically funny. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I needed that. And
Go
that's
back and look at his highlights.
If I ever see this film again, that's all I'm going to think about is that.
I couldn't stop looking at them. So, okay.
Yeah, ultimately, everything was fine about it. Like I say a lot, it was fine.
It was totally fine.
But ultimately forgettable. Like,
I
I
fell asleep. It wasn't fine. It was boring. I take it back.
I had seen this before, and in the back of my head, I was like, I remember this. I'm looking forward to this.
Me too.
And then because it is such a forgettable film, I had forgotten everything, and I'm probably going to forget it tomorrow.
I think so, but next time you watch it, you're going to watch the highlights.
Yes, I will.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, I'm done with that. That was a quick one on Quiz Show. It was dumb.
Okay.
Let's move on to the last, which is a movie that's on my top 20. I think it's on yours as well.
It just missed it, but I love this movie.
Shawshank Redemption. So this was written and directed by Frank Darabont, based on the 1982 Stephen King novella Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. Stars Tim Robbins, Morgan Freeman, Bob Gunton, William Sadler, Clancy Brown, Gil Bellows, and James Whitmore. Was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor for Freeman, Best Adapted Screenplay for Darabont, Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Sound, and Best Original Score. Did not win anything.
All right, from an AFI perspective, it is currently number 72 on the list.
Good, okay, cool.
But it was not on the original list.
Oh.
Which I think, I'm getting into my fun facts, kind of is similar to the box office that it did. It did it was released and did a terrible box office. It hardly made any money. And then it got nominated for a bunch of Oscars, and there was terrific word of mouth, so they re-released it. And it made a little bit more, but still did not make its money back. And then they released the VHS tapes, and it became the top movie rental of 1995.
Really?
Yes. So it was all word of mouth, all Oscar nominations, and so I think it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
So that explains why it was not originally on the list, and and it's moved up to number 72. Couple other just really quick ones are the picture of Red in the mugshot is Morgan Freeman's son.
Oh.
That's why it looks like him, but not exactly like him. And also, obviously, this was supposed to take place in Maine. We know that it did not take place in Maine, especially the shot of Buxton is very much not Buxton. It is, in fact, Mansfield, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of where it took place. Final one, and I didn't know this one, the kid, Tommy, that got shot by the guard was supposed to be Brad Pitt.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Huh.
But he went to go film Legends of the Fall instead, which better choice for him, obviously.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about how much I love this movie, and I don't know if changing that would be good or bad. I can't.
I like the guy who played it, Gil Bellows, who went on to Ally McBeal fame.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yep.
A couple of fascinating facts for you.
Bring it.
This was, I think, if not the first, it was one of the first. Every time a Stephen King thing was adapted, the rule was it had to be shot in Maine.
Oh.
Until, I think this was the first one that they didn't do that because of the star power and all of that and the whatever. But that used to be like Pet Sematary, all of those were filmed right here in Maine, and that was the deal. You do my adaptation, you film it in Maine.
Love that.
And then I think, like I said, this was the first one to change it. The second thing is, inside the actor studio.
Sure.
Did you ever see the one with Tim Robbins?
I have not, no.
He was asked directly the question, why is this film so incredibly popular? Why has it stood the test of time?
Mm-hmm.
And why does it particularly resonate so much with men?
Mm-hmm.
And his response, I think, was 100% spot on. His response is, it's a love story between two men that is a non-sexual thing, and men struggle with that. They could watch this and appreciate it.
I think
And
that's
was like,
absolutely true.
absolutely. That is,
Yep, I
that
love
to me, and I thought that would be a good jumping point to start talking about this.
Mhm.
That is this film to me. It is 100% a love story without any sort of question.
So I'd never heard that, and one of the points I put in here was one of the things I love about it is the unique friendship that is fully platonic, and it's the first one that's not framed by family ties or work
Yes.
or we're gonna go do a Mission Impossible gig or something like that. It's two people who are put together and they really just see something in the other that they love.
Yeah.
So yeah, I fully agree with that, and the chemistry between these two actors is outstanding.
Yeah, and I will give Morgan a little bit more credit than Tim, not to try to take anything away from Tim, but Morgan being him, it's hard to take your eyes off him
Yeah.
during this film. Even when the two of them are on screen, you're looking at Morgan.
Oh, so charismatic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Um,
How much do you want to talk about this, knowing that we're going to do a full episode
I
about
want to
it?
mention a couple things,
Okay.
and then we'll do a much more deep dive when we get to why I like this so much. But that one I wanted to get up front, that this
Yes.
is
It's
this-
a love story.
It is
Absolutely.
100% a love story. Many movies do struggle with telling a story over such a long period of time, because he's in there for like 21 years or
Mhm.
something. And this one, it's perfect. Just the moments that you have in time are just enough to get you to move on. And when you do a time jump, it's not jarring. You don't question. You're not lost. You're like, oh, okay, we've done a time jump. We're in a new
Yeah.
period now.
Yeah.
We're still telling the same story, but we've jumped 5 or 6 years or whatever it is.
Yes.
The pacing of all of that works out beautifully.
Yep, I
Uh,
agree. It's also one of those movies that you can pick it up at any point in the movie and
Yeah.
watch it to the end. Like, this is one of those that if it's on TV, you're just gonna keep watching it to the end, which I think also is one of the reasons that it's so popular. It's on TV all the time, or at least it always was. And again, I get suckered into the side characters, and the James Whitmore and his little story of Brooks was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it was as brutal as any of the things that you've seen on the inside was his life and them wresting him away from his only safe place in his home.
Yep.
And I just love that side story.
This film has gotten criticism for the opening, because the opening is vastly different than the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm.
But, and you know how much I like to talk about openings.
I do.
I think the opening is absolutely perfect because of what they set up, and it makes you, throughout the entire film, question, did he or did he not actually do it?
Yes.
And it's only like 3/4 of the way into the film that you actually get that answer. But I think that when you're watching this for the first time and you are questioning, because you like Andy, he's
Yeah.
a good guy, but in the back of your head, like, well, did he kill his wife, and is that okay because of the circumstance or not? So I like the fact that they open with that and instantly put that question in as you meet him until you get a resolution. So I'm fine with it. Some people aren't.
I'm one of those, I'm on the fence about it, and not for the reasons that you just said. For me, it's more, this is Red's story. This is
Yeah.
not Andy's story. So to start with Andy, the first time I watched this many moons ago, I got probably about halfway through the movie before I realized this isn't Andy's story. This is about Red. This
Yeah.
is Red's story and how Andy changes him.
Yep.
And so that's the only piece, is it misdirects you as to where your attention should be.
Okay, I could see that.
So that's the only piece. I agree with you. Like, it shows you, here's him on the outside to him on the inside. It's well done. It does set up that doubt because you don't know whether he killed him. So it killed the couple. So it's a good scene. I just want more attention on Red.
Yeah, I can see that because you're right. This is ultimately Red's story, and so the shift of focus. Why in that case, like from a from pure narrative, that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still fine with it though.
All right.
A couple things that I do like that the film does very well, and there are a lot of prison movies, and I'm not talking like just the B ones with scantily clad girls. There are just a lot of prison movies that exist. This one really does give a good sense of what it is like to be in prison.
Absolutely.
The good, the bad, the daily drudgery, the routine of everything. Like, you are in this world, this prison, in this specific prison, and it establishes that world very, very well. It doesn't pull any punches, and it doesn't go over the top. It just is, this is how they're living their day-to-day
Yes.
lives. So it was a soft touch, but a determined touch.
No, especially as it played through Andy, of he never let the drudgery get to him. He
Yeah.
always had a hobby or a next thing to do or a next project. I'm gonna work on polishing rocks, and then I'm gonna make a chessboard, and I'm gonna build a library, and I'm gonna do a financial plan. So like, he always just kept himself busy, and even, you know, the sisters and that whole kind of side story was, I am going to get attacked sometimes, and I'm going to win sometimes, and I'm not going to win sometimes. I'm going to get beat up sometimes, I'm going to be brutalized. Like, that is prison life,
Yep.
and sad and horrible and brutal, and he did not let it break him.
Yep.
And I love that.
I'm not going to do too much of a deep dive on this one, but so I'm going to end, unless you have other things you want to say, I'm going to end with this one. I will make an argument that easily top 10, but I think Red is one of, easily in the top 10 of the greatest characters in movies of all time.
I agree with that, and I will say it is a travesty he did not win Best Actor
Yeah.
over Tom Hanks
Yeah.
this year, and I'm very, very sad about that. And the other piece I will leave it with is get busy living or get busy dying. That is just like a fantastic mantra
Yep.
for life. So, but yeah, I love Red, I love the character, I love the performance, and it was an Oscar-worthy performance.
All right, I'm going to take a guess and say that you, and I'm actually not 100% on this, but I'm going to say you do not agree with the Academy that Forrest Gump should have won, and you believe it should be Shawshank.
Okay, you are half correct.
Oh,
I do not believe Forrest Gump should have won. Of Pulp Fiction and Shawshank, I much prefer Shawshank. I love that movie. I will watch it every moment of the day. Pulp Fiction is not my jam. It is the better film.
okay.
So I think it should have been Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
I'm going to say that that is what you think as well.
That Pulp Fiction should have won?
Yes.
No.
Really?
Yep.
For Shawshank?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And I will freely admit that I can't separate in my head whether that
Okay.
is bias or whether that is objective. I really can't. I don't know the answer to that question.
I think the mechanics and the construction of Pulp Fiction, the fact that it was something never seen before, and you have all of the elements of the directing, the dialogue, the
Yeah.
screenplay, the performances, all of those things, plus a construction people haven't seen before, to me says Pulp Fiction. If I had a choice 100 times out of 100, I would rather watch Shawshank Redemption. So,
I agree with all of that. I really do. And like I said, I can't tell if I'm being just biased or being objective. But all of those are very valid points, and I think we just both can very easily say that
Oh,
the
yeah.
Academy fucked this one up. Sorry.
I agree, and also, I'm assuming that you would say if Shawshank wasn't on the list, it should go to Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
And if Pulp Fiction was not on the list, I would absolutely give it to Shawshank. So it's a very, very close one, too.
Nope, not quiz show. Aww.
I don't know, I fell asleep, so we'll never know. I did go back and watch the part that I fell asleep in, and I do not feel a better person for it.
No.
So, alright.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Bye.